What if the secret to a long, joyful life isn't success or money, but purpose? In a quiet corner of Japan, people live past 100, not just surviving, but thriving. Their secret? Ikigai, the reason you wake up in the morning. It's not a goal, it's not a job, it's a way of life. Ikigai blends passion, mission, profession, and vocation into one clear path. Welcome to Thinknova, where ancient wisdom meets modern clarity, and you rediscover why you truly exist. In a quiet corner of the world, nestled among the misty mountains and the lush green landscape of Okinawa, Japan, lies a village that defies the conventional boundaries of time. The people here live longer than most. They are happier, more energetic, and deeply connected to something intangible yet powerful. That something is Ikigai, a word that carries within it the essence of purpose, passion, and daily joy. Ikigai is not a goal to be chased, but a reason to wake up each morning. It is found in the simplicity of a farmer tending his field, in the steady hands of a calligrapher brushing ink on paper, and in the laughter of elders who still dance and sing despite their age. In the village of Ogimi, often referred to as the village of longevity, the whispers of Ikigai are present in every breath, every shared meal, and every sunrise. The quest to understand Ikigai begins not in the pages of textbooks, but in the lived experiences of the people who embody it. These individuals have never read self-help books or attended motivational seminars. They do not need to. Their lives are the living testimony of principles that the modern world is now beginning to rediscover. Ikigai, they say, is why they live. The foundation of this way of life is built on small joys and deliberate actions. It is not about grandeur or accolades, but about harmony, balance, and intention. People here do what they love, they are good at it, the world needs it, and they are often rewarded for it. The four overlapping dimensions of Ikigai. Longevity, as observed in these regions, is not just a biological phenomenon. It is a lifestyle deeply embedded in values, community, and resilience. The elders of Okinawa are not merely surviving, they are thriving. At over 100 years old, many of them still practice martial arts, tend to their gardens, and cook for their families. Their eyes gleam with stories, and their hearts beat with rhythm, not resignation. Researchers and explorers have traveled across the globe to understand these pockets of health and happiness. From the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica to the hills of Sardinia in Italy, and from Icaria in Greece to Loma Linda in California, they discovered what are now called blue zones. But among all, Okinawa stands out not just for physical longevity, but for emotional and spiritual vitality. In Ogimi, the social fabric is tightly woven. Every individual, regardless of age, belongs to a moai, a lifelong group of friends that provides support, laughter, and companionship. These moais are not formed out of necessity, but out of choice, tradition, and a deep understanding that humans are not meant to live in isolation. They meet often, share meals, play games, and exchange wisdom. In a world where loneliness has become a silent epidemic, Ogimi holds an ancient cure. Beyond social ties, the diet in Okinawa is a celebration of freshness and moderation. Meals are colorful, simple, and plant-based. Purple sweet potatoes, tofu, bitter melon, seaweed, and green tea are staples. But more than what they eat, how they eat matters even more. They follow the principle of hara-hachi-bu, to eat until they are 80% full. This mindful restraint prevents overeating and aligns with the body's natural rhythms. Movement is another thread in the tapestry of their lives. Not the forced kind of movement that comes with gym memberships and fitness trackers, but natural movement that arises from daily life. Walking, gardening, cooking, and traditional dancing are not exercises. They are expressions of life. The elderly bend with ease, stretch with grace, and rise with a strength that belies their age. Yet the most profound secret lies not in their diet, exercise, or even social bonds, but in their sense of purpose, their Ikigai. Everyone, regardless of age or profession, has something that gives their life meaning. For some, it is the act of teaching. For others, it may be crafting pottery, playing music, or raising grandchildren. Ikigai is not defined by age or wealth. It is personal, fluid, and deeply rooted in identity. There is a story of a centenarian who rises with the sun each morning to prepare a traditional breakfast for his family. He does it with care, precision, and joy. To him, it is not a chore. It is his Ikigai. Another woman, at 102, continues to weave kimonos. Her fingers, though weathered, dance with the threads. The patterns she creates are more than garments. They are stories. For her, this act of creation is her Ikigai. In understanding Ikigai, one cannot ignore the role of flow, that state where time melts away and one becomes fully immersed in the task at hand. Whether it is a craftsman carving wood or a farmer tilling soil, the ability to enter this state of deep focus contributes not only to productivity but to fulfillment. Flow brings satisfaction that external rewards cannot match. It is when we are doing something we love and are good at, without being distracted or rushed. The balance between challenge and skill is crucial. Too little challenge, and boredom creeps in. Too much, and anxiety takes over. But when the task at hand stretches one just enough, it pulls them into flow, into Ikigai. Modern life, with its distractions and pace, often pulls people away from this state. Notifications, deadlines, and multitasking fragment attention. But those who cultivate Ikigai carve out space for deep work, for focus, for immersion. They protect their time, prioritize their passions, and design their days with intention. Ikigai also teaches the importance of perseverance. In Japan, this is embodied in the concept of ganbaru, to do one's best and never give up. It is a quiet determination, a steady persistence that honors effort over outcome. Whether it's a painter working on the same canvas for years, or a gardener nurturing bonsai trees for decades, ganbaru reflects a devotion to craft and calling. The elders of Okinawa have lived through wars, natural disasters, and profound loss. Yet their spirits remain unbroken. Resilience, it turns out, is not born of comfort, but of purpose. Ikigai gives them a reason to endure, to adapt, to continue. It gives them hope even in sorrow, direction even in chaos. In this pursuit, they do not seek perfection, but harmony. Wabi-sabi, another Japanese philosophy, celebrates the beauty of imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. A cracked teacup, a weathered gate, a fading flower. These are not discarded but cherished. Life, too, is seen through this lens. Aging is not a decline but a passage, a deepening of grace. As one walks through the village of Ogimi, there is no rush, no noise, no clutter. Children play under cherry blossoms. Elders laugh under tiled roofs. There is rhythm in their steps and light in their eyes. Every house has a garden. Every garden has stories. And every story has Ikigai at its heart. The notion of retirement as a complete withdrawal from purpose is foreign to them. They believe in continuing, not because they have to, but because they want to. As long as one has something to contribute, some act of service or creation to offer, life remains full. The Western idea of success, measured in money, titles, or possessions, contrasts sharply with the values held in these communities. Here, success is peace. It is the ability to sleep well, to laugh often, to be needed and useful, to love and be loved. It is to rise with anticipation and to rest with contentment. Ikigai is not something to be invented. It is uncovered, like a treasure hidden in plain sight. It may change over time, evolve with experience, but its presence, once felt, cannot be forgotten. It becomes the compass that guides decisions, the fire that fuels actions, and the thread that binds one's life story. To find it, one must ask not just what they are good at or what the world needs, but also what brings them alive. What activity, when done, makes time disappear? What task leaves a lingering joy long after it's completed? The answers lie not in logic alone, but in feeling, memory, and dreams. In discovering Ikigai, there is no need to abandon all and start anew. Often, it is already present, hidden in daily routines, old hobbies, long-forgotten passions. It is in the handwritten letter, the home-cooked meal, the garden that blooms each season. And so, the journey begins not by looking outward, but inward. In the stillness of early morning, in the silence between thoughts, in the space between breaths, Ikigai whispers. It invites one to slow down, to listen, to reconnect with the rhythm of life. From the sacred hills of Okinawa to the hearts of those seeking meaning, the message is clear. Ikigai is not a secret, but a path. Not a goal, but a way of being. It is where passion meets mission, vocation meets profession, and joy meets existence. In the pursuit of Ikigai, the small things matter most. A steaming bowl of miso soup shared at sunrise, the first fragrance of jasmine in spring, or the gentle ritual of preparing matcha with precise, elegant motions. These are not mere moments. They are anchors, grounding one in the present, inviting awareness, and reminding the soul that life is made of details. In Ogimi, every action carries intention. The sweeping of a floor is not hurried, and the mending of clothes is done with care. In every chore lies a sense of pride, and in every movement, a quiet celebration of being alive. The art of slow living is not a luxury, but a tradition, passed through generations not as advice but as example. This approach contrasts sharply with modern life's obsession with speed. Faster is often seen as better. But in the rush to accomplish, much is missed. Not only the beauty of the journey, but the essence of the self. Ikigai slows the heartbeat, calms the breath, and opens the eyes to the wonder that exists all around. Time in Okinawa flows differently. It is not a race, but a rhythm. The people follow natural cycles, the blooming of trees, the rise of the tide, the migration of birds. The artificial urgency of deadlines does not dictate their pace. Instead, the sun, the seasons, and the soil set the tone. The gardens of Ogimi are a reflection of this philosophy. Carefully tended, they are not extravagant but full of life. Bitter melons curl over bamboo trellises. Herbs grow in wooden planters. Even the smallest patch of land is transformed into a sanctuary of nourishment and color. Gardening here is not a task. It is a conversation with nature, a source of peace, and often a living ikigai. Food, too, is approached with reverence. Meals are not consumed on the run or in isolation. They are shared, often slowly, and filled with gratitude. There is no overindulgence, no guilt. Every bite is savored, every meal a moment to connect, with others, with health, and with tradition. One of the unspoken ingredients in their diet is gratitude. Before eating, many offer silent thanks. This simple act transforms consumption into a ritual, a pause that honors both the food and the hands that prepared it. In this acknowledgement lies humility, a reminder that nothing should be taken for granted. Interwoven with these daily practices is a mindset shaped by centuries of culture and spiritual influence. Concepts like Ichigo Ichii, meaning, this moment exists only now and will never come again, encourage presence and mindfulness. It teaches one to cherish each encounter, each experience, as unique and fleeting. Ikigai thrives in this awareness. It does not ask for extraordinary events, but invites extraordinary attention to ordinary life. It is in noticing the sunlight dancing on the walls, the warmth of tea in the palms, the smile of a neighbor passing by. When fully present, even the mundane glows with meaning. Creativity also plays a vital role in sustaining Ikigai. Whether through painting, music, writing, or crafting, the act of creating awakens something timeless in the soul. It offers not just an outlet for expression, but a bridge to flow, connection, and contribution. The elderly in Okinawa do not retire from creativity. They dive deeper into it. In their workshops and homes, one finds tools worn from use, shelves lined with handmade objects, and stories woven into every piece. A potter may spend hours shaping a single bowl, not for sale, but for the joy of shaping. A weaver may craft patterns that recall childhood tales or seasonal cycles. In these acts, Ikigai breathes. But life is not always easy, even in a village of serenity. Loss comes. Health fades. Relationships shift. Yet what stands firm is the inner compass of Ikigai. It does not eliminate sorrow, but it offers a North Star, a reason to get up, to keep moving, to continue. The Okinawan concept of yui maaru, or mutual aid, reinforces this resilience. Neighbors help neighbors, families support elders, communities rally for the sick. It is an unspoken agreement that no one faces life alone. When one stumbles, others extend a hand. In this circle of care, even pain finds solace. Social engagement is not left to chance. Birthdays, festivals, ceremonies, all are reasons to gather. These gatherings are rich not in formality, but in laughter and shared memory. In song and in dance, age dissolves. Elders often lead the celebrations, their steps light, their voices strong, their presence a reminder that joy has no expiration date. Among the many remarkable individuals in Okinawa is a woman named Uemura. At 103, she tends a garden behind her home, plays the sanshin, a traditional stringed instrument, and mentors young girls in the art of sewing. Her day begins with prayer, followed by light stretches, then tea and toast. She speaks softly, but moves with the certainty of someone deeply rooted in purpose. When asked about the secret to her longevity, she does not mention vitamins or routines. She simply says, "I still have things to do." Those things may seem small, watering plants, teaching, preparing food, but in her eyes, they carry great weight. For her, Ikigai is not an idea. It is a way of life. This concept of contribution, of still having something to offer, fuels vitality. It transforms aging from a period of decline into one of reflection and deepened impact. As people age, they are not discarded or sidelined. They are revered, listened to, and involved. They hold stories, traditions, and wisdom that no book can replace. In societies where the elderly are isolated or idle, depression and illness often follow. But in Okinawa, elders are central to the social ecosystem. They cook, teach, organize, and advise. Their roles are not ceremonial, they are essential. In giving, they remain connected. In serving, they stay strong. This brings into focus an important truth. Purpose does not retire. It may shift in shape or scale, but its flame need not extinguish. One's Ikigai in youth may be career or exploration. In middle age, it may be family or mastery. In older years, it may be mentoring, art, or community. Each phase offers a new layer, a deeper hue. Modern psychology aligns with this wisdom. Studies show that having a purpose in life reduces stress, enhances health, and increases satisfaction. People with purpose recover faster from illness, cope better with setbacks, and live longer. Purpose is not just a poetic idea, it is a pillar of well-being. But Ikigai is more than just any purpose. It sits at the crossroads of what one loves, what one is good at, what the world needs, and what one can be rewarded for. It is holistic. It integrates the heart, the hands, the mind, and the world. Finding it requires introspection. Not all paths are obvious. Sometimes it takes trying many things. Sometimes it emerges after loss, challenge, or change. But it is always present, like a seed waiting for the right soil and season to grow. Jiro, a sushi chef in Tokyo, became world-renowned not because he sought fame, but because he pursued perfection in his craft every single day. His Ikigai was to make the best sushi possible. With discipline and devotion, he turned a simple food into art. His story reminds us that greatness is not in the scale of what we do, but in the sincerity with which we do it. Likewise, a school teacher in Okinawa may never be known beyond her village, but in the eyes of her students, she is a light. Her teaching, her patience, her presence, these shape futures. Her Ikigai is not fame, but impact. The same is true for the quiet librarian, the patient nurse, the street musician. All around the world, people live their Ikigai not with applause but with consistency. They serve, create, heal, build, not to impress, but to express who they are. There is peace in living this way. No comparison, no race, just flow, just connection, just truth. To nurture Ikigai, one must also care for the body. The Okinawan elders follow simple practices. They rise early, sleep well, eat moderately, move often. They do not over-exercise but stay in motion. They do not starve but do not overfill. Their routines are gentle, cyclical, natural. Stress, that invisible toxin of the modern world, is minimal here. The people meditate, pray, sing, laugh. They do not suppress emotions but express them in healthy ways. Their lives are filled with meaning, and where there is meaning, there is strength. The spiritual foundation of many in Okinawa also supports Ikigai. Whether through Buddhism, Shintoism, or ancestral reverence, there is a sense of belonging to something greater. Rituals, symbols, and beliefs create continuity. Life is not a series of random events but a sacred path. In these beliefs lies another lesson. Death is not feared but accepted. It is part of the cycle. The emphasis is not on avoiding it, but on living fully until it arrives. With purpose, even death loses its sting. It becomes a passage, not an end. So many in the modern world seek happiness in consumption, distraction, or escape. But the people of Okinawa show that happiness is not pursued. It is cultivated. It grows from within, from presence, purpose, and peace. Ikigai is not something one has to earn. It is already there, waiting to be seen, claimed, and lived. It may require letting go of what is not essential. It may ask for courage, for stillness, for change. But it always gives more than it takes. The journey to Ikigai is not linear. There are setbacks, detours, doubts. But every step, even the ones that seem off course, teaches something valuable. Every challenge refines clarity. Every moment becomes part of the whole. And so, like the farmers of Ogimi who rise with the sun, who plant with care and who harvest with gratitude, we too can live with purpose. Not in grand gestures, but in daily acts. Not in seeking more, but in cherishing enough. Ikigai is the whisper beneath the noise, the light behind the curtain, the melody in the silence. And when one begins to live by it, life no longer feels like a race. It becomes a song. As the morning mist lifted from the rice fields of Okinawa, the first rays of sunlight touched the rooftops with a golden hue. The villagers stirred gently from their sleep, not to alarms or obligations, but to the natural rhythm of the day. This unhurried awakening was not just a habit, but a reflection of harmony, the kind that blossoms when one lives with Ikigai. The idea of a balanced life is not a myth here. It is a lived truth. Harmony exists between work and rest, solitude and community, giving and receiving. There is no relentless push toward more, no chronic comparison, no hollow achievements. Instead, there is enough joy, enough meaning, enough presence. Many modern societies emphasize ambition as a virtue. Bigger homes, higher salaries, more followers, and faster growth. But in places where Ikigai thrives, the aspiration is not accumulation but alignment. The question is not, how much can I get, but how well can I live? Living well, as seen in these communities, is not defined by luxury, but by integrity. It is choosing simplicity over complication, quality over quantity, essence over appearance. It is being faithful to who one is, not who one is told to be. And in doing so, one rediscovers the core of Ikigai: authenticity. Authenticity brings freedom. When people live in ways that match their values, strengths, and passions, they do not need to pretend, to impress, or to conform. Their lives become congruent, an outward reflection of their inner truth. This alignment nurtures peace, resilience, and deep joy. In Ogimi, there is no single blueprint for Ikigai. For one elder, it is fishing every morning. For another, it is writing poems in the sand. For a third, it may be caring for stray cats or teaching children to play the sanshin. What matters is not the nature of the activity, but the presence it invites and the meaning it provides. Purpose, in this context, is not a burden, but a gift. It is not imposed from outside, but discovered within. And once discovered, it becomes a thread, connecting past, present, and future. It gives coherence to memory and direction to action. This sense of coherence is vital for mental and emotional health. In a world where many feel lost, distracted, or overwhelmed, Ikigai provides a compass. It reduces anxiety, fuels motivation, and cultivates gratitude. People wake up not with dread, but with anticipation. Not with pressure, but with clarity. There is also a humility in living by Ikigai. It does not seek to dominate, but to serve. It does not cry out for attention, but offers quiet contribution. Whether in cooking, cleaning, painting, or planting, the focus is not on recognition, but on reverence. For the work, for the process, and for life itself. That reverence is passed from one generation to another. Children grow up watching their elders live with dignity, creativity, and kindness. They absorb these lessons not through lectures, but through observation. They learn that life is not a race to win, but a journey to honor. In one home, a grandfather carves wooden toys by hand. His grandson watches in silence, mesmerized by the gentle rhythm of the knife and the careful attention to detail. The boy asks no questions. He simply absorbs. Years later, he picks up the same tools, not to replicate, but to remember, to keep the spirit alive. That spirit, the quiet wisdom of doing what matters with care and devotion, is at the heart of Ikigai. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be faked. It emerges when one listens deeply, not to the noise outside, but to the stirrings within. Stillness, therefore, is not laziness. It is a doorway. When the world slows down, when distractions fade, when silence is embraced, Ikigai has space to speak. Its voice is not loud, but it is clear. It may come as a memory, an idea, a longing. And when it comes, it asks for attention. To cultivate this stillness, the people of Okinawa engage in practices that calm the mind. Some meditate, others garden. Some walk by the ocean, letting the sound of waves soften their thoughts. These acts, though simple, create inner spaciousness. They make room for insight, for connection, for presence. Presence is not about perfection, it is about participation. Being fully in the moment, even if that moment is messy, uncertain, or ordinary. When washing dishes, they wash dishes. When eating, they eat. When talking, they listen. There is no split between action and awareness. This mindfulness infuses every part of their day, not as a technique, but as a way of life. It is not exotic, not complicated, not reserved for monks or retreats. It is available to everyone, in breath, in movement, in the smallest of acts. In this mindful living, stress has less grip. Emotions are acknowledged, not suppressed. Challenges are faced, not avoided. Change is accepted, not feared. People learn to bend like bamboo, flexible, rooted, and resilient. When storms come, they sway but do not break. Flexibility is not weakness. It is wisdom. Life is unpredictable. Plans fail. Bodies age, dreams shift. But those who live with Ikigai adapt. They adjust their sails without losing sight of the horizon. They remain faithful to their values even when circumstances change. In doing so, they protect their joy. Not surface pleasure, but deep joy. The kind that comes from doing what one loves, being who one is, and belonging to something greater. This joy is not loud but steady. It hums beneath the surface, unshaken by external noise. Belonging is another vital ingredient. In Okinawa, people are not isolated by age, status, or profession. They belong to families, to moais, to villages. This belonging is not abstract. It is embodied in shared meals, communal tasks, and daily greetings. People know each other's names, stories, and struggles. There is a word for this social connectedness, ibasho. It means a place where one feels at home, where one is accepted and valued. Everyone needs an ibasho, not just physically, but emotionally. A place to be real, to be supported, to be safe. Without ibasho, even purpose can feel lonely. But with it, even the simplest life feels rich. A fisherman's hut, filled with laughter. A kitchen where generations gather. A bench under a tree where stories are exchanged. These are the sacred spaces of Ikigai. In one such space, an old man teaches children to fold origami. His hands are slow but sure. His eyes twinkle with delight as cranes, boats, and flowers emerge from colored paper. The children laugh, make mistakes, try again. They are not in a classroom, but they are learning. Patience, beauty, presence. This kind of teaching does not follow a curriculum. It follows the heart. It passes down more than skills. It passes down spirit. And in doing so, it extends Ikigai from one soul to another, like a candle lighting another candle, without losing its own flame. There is another story of a woman who, after losing her husband, began painting seashells. At first, it was to fill time. But soon, it became a practice. Each shell carried a mood, a memory, a prayer. She began giving them away, one by one, to strangers and friends. Her grief did not disappear, but it softened. Her purpose was reborn. Loss can sometimes lead to Ikigai. When something ends, it creates space for something new. Pain opens the heart to depth, and from that depth, meaning can rise. Not always quickly, not always clearly, but inevitably, if one listens. The people of Okinawa have known loss, war, poverty, illness, but they have also known regeneration. Their lives are not free from sorrow, but they are full of resilience. They do not cling to what was, nor fear what will be. They honor the past, embrace the present, and trust the unfolding. This trust is not blind, it is cultivated through rituals, relationships, and daily devotion. Through remembering that they are part of a larger whole, nature, community, spirit. They are not isolated beings, but threads in a vast and vibrant tapestry. And in that tapestry, everyone matters. Every thread counts. Every life, however simple or silent, adds color, texture, meaning. This is the essence of Ikigai. Not to stand out, but to fit in, not by force, but by flow. To do what is yours to do, with love. To live in such a way that your presence leaves a trail of beauty and a trace of peace. When evening comes in Ogimi, it is not a collapse but a closing, a gentle winding down. Lamps are lit, meals are shared, elders rest by windows, children count stars. The air hums with gratitude. And as night falls, the people sleep not with fear or regret, but with fulfillment. Their bodies are tired, their minds are calm, their hearts are full. Another day has passed. Another day with purpose, connection, and joy. Another day lived with Ikigai, far from the noise of bustling cities and the glare of constant screens. A truth echoes gently through the quiet lives of those who live with Ikigai. That fulfillment is not a result of frantic seeking, but of patient living. This truth is not taught in institutions or encoded in grand philosophies, but found in the pulse of daily life, in the hands that knead dough, in the smiles exchanged across dinner tables, and in the resilience of spirits weathered by time. In Okinawa and other similar blue zones, the concept of Ikigai is not intellectual. It is emotional, physical, spiritual. It is the intertwining of what one does, why one does it, and who one becomes in the process. It is the reason to rise when the sky is still pale, to work when the hands are tired, to give when the heart is heavy. Among the people of Ogimi, There is a deep sense of continuity, not just from morning to evening, but from generation to generation. Stories are told and retold, not for entertainment alone, but for preservation. Myths, recipes, rituals, they all serve as vessels for values. These narratives reinforce the importance of perseverance, simplicity, and service, all of which feed the roots of Ikigai. One such story tells of a fisherman who, despite his old age, continued to sail every morning, not for wealth, but for rhythm. The sea was his companion, the act of fishing his meditation. When asked why he still went out each day, he would smile and reply that the ocean still had lessons to teach him. His Ikigai was not the fish, but the feeling of being alive on the water. This humility, of knowing that one never stops learning, that no day is too small for growth, fuels longevity and joy. It creates space for wonder, and with wonder, life becomes new again. In modern life, where pressure to specialize early and excel fast is common, many people find themselves detached from their inner compass. The chase for external rewards leaves little time to ask deep questions. What do I love? What am I naturally drawn to? What brings me peace? But Ikigai asks these very questions, not once, but constantly. The process of finding Ikigai is not a sudden revelation, but a gentle unfolding. It may begin with a curiosity, a restlessness, or even a loss. A person may change careers, move cities, or take up a new hobby. What matters is not the speed of discovery, but the sincerity of attention, the willingness to experiment, to reflect, and to refine. There's a man in Okinawa who spends hours every week repairing clocks. These are not modern battery-powered ones, but old mechanical clocks with cogs, levers, and worn-down gears. For decades, he has done this without advertisement, without a signboard, simply as a service to those who need time restored. For him, fixing timepieces is an act of devotion. He is not just mending machines, but memories. And perhaps that is another layer of Ikigai, the act of restoring. Healing what is broken, cherishing what is fading, preserving what is sacred. Whether it's the clockmaker, the gardener, or the grandmother teaching old songs to new children, they all play a part in the restoration of what matters. In such acts, time slows down. Anxiety lessens. A rhythm emerges, one that aligns with the heartbeat, the breath, the soil. This rhythm cannot be forced. It is felt, honored, and followed. The role of patience here is profound. Ikigai does not bloom overnight. Like the cherry blossoms that wait for their season, it requires readiness. The soil of the heart must be soft. The mind must be quiet. Only then can purpose take root. In our hurry, we often miss these signals. We silence our longings, suppress our creativity, and postpone our joy. But Ikigai calls us back, not loudly, but persistently. It reminds us that life is not just about solving problems, but about creating meaning. Meaning is not found in intensity, but in consistency. The consistent act of caring for a loved one. The consistent habit of writing one page a day. The consistent attention to the little things. Folding clothes with care, smiling at strangers, pausing to admire a sunset. These are not trivial. They are transformative. One of the elders once said, "Ikigai is the small voice that says, 'Keep going.' Even on days when energy is low or doubts are high, this voice persists. It does not demand, but it invites. It says, 'Do what you can, with what you have, from where you are.' And slowly something shifts. The need for validation fades. The compulsion to compare diminishes. One begins to live from the inside out, not seeking applause, but meaning. Modern research into flow states confirms what the elders have always known, that when people are deeply immersed in an activity they love and are good at, they lose their sense of time and self. Their brain waves change, their stress drops, their performance improves. But most importantly, their satisfaction deepens. This is why, even into their hundreds, many Okinawans continue to engage in work or hobbies. Retirement does not mean withdrawal. It means recalibration. It means shifting from what is no longer necessary to what is deeply fulfilling. Purpose evolves. A woman who once ran a shop may now teach young women how to sew. A man who once built homes may now craft small sculptures. The scale changes, but the spirit remains. The urge to create, to contribute, to be part of the fabric of life never fades. And this contribution is often relational. Ikigai is not a solitary pursuit. It flourishes in connection, in listening, in sharing, in giving, in recognizing that we are not isolated drops, but part of an ocean of humanity. There is a sense of gratitude that infuses these lives. Gratitude not as a fleeting emotion, but as a state of being. Gratitude for breath, for sunrise, for warm soup and cool evenings. Gratitude for stories passed down, for hands held, for days shared. This gratitude is often expressed in rituals, lighting incense for ancestors, bowing before meals, writing wishes on paper and tying them to sacred trees. These acts ground people in something timeless. They remind them that they are part of a lineage, a story, a continuum. From this rootedness comes resilience. People who know where they come from and why they live rarely crumble in the face of adversity. They bend, they adapt, they endure. Not because they are superhuman, but because they are deeply human. And this humanity is nurtured in community. A moai does not just offer friendship. It offers accountability, encouragement, belonging. It says, "You are not alone." In a world where many feel unseen, unheard, and unnecessary, a moai is medicine. Such medicine cannot be prescribed, only cultivated. It requires time, presence, and vulnerability. But its healing power is immense. It reduces depression. It increases longevity. It makes life worth living. There's a story of 5 friends in Okinawa, now all over 90 years old, who have met every week for more than 70 years. They play games, drink tea, and talk about everything from grandchildren to politics. They laugh more than they cry. They support each other through surgeries, losses, and milestones. Their friendship is not an accessory. It is their Ikigai. This kind of connection is not an accident. It is a choice, a practice, a priority. And so, as the day ends in Okinawa and the lanterns flicker gently in the wind, the people sit with satisfaction. They have not chased greatness. They have not competed or conquered. But they have lived, truly lived. They have danced with the seasons. They have honored their bodies. They have listened to their hearts. They have shown up for each other. They have given more than they took. And in doing so, they have found Ikigai. As the final chapter of the day closes and stars scatter across the sky, one truth remains: that each of us has a reason to be, a rhythm to follow, a gift to give. Ikigai is not somewhere out there. It is already within. It is the smile you share, the craft you love, the service you offer, the peace you feel. It is what brings you alive. And in finding it, you do not just add years to your life. You add life to your years. In a world chasing speed, Ikigai teaches us to slow down and live with purpose. It's not about having more. It's about being more present, more joyful, more alive. Your Ikigai isn't something you find. It's something you uncover within. And once you do, life becomes art. Subscribe to Thinknova, where every story reconnects you with meaning, and every word brings you closer to your true self. Because when you live with Ikigai, you live forever in spirit.